Hey guys, welcome back to another video and welcome to content that you did not subscribe to. Let's get into the topic. So as a mechanic, I'm seeing more and more auto repair shops, more and more dealerships who are either incompetent in doing repair or they're just simply not interested. Now, I have a few customers, good customers, that come to me all the time for engine repair and even basic stuff, oil changes, blah, blah, blah. The pattern I'm noticing these days in auto repair shops and dealerships is nobody actually repairs anything anymore. They just replace, and they throw parts at it. They throw the parts cannon like there is no tomorrow. Gone are the days where you can walk into an auto repair shop and get a proper engine repair without replacing the entire engine, or simple as rebuilding parts. No, that era, that generation no longer exists. Had a customer today with a 2012 Audi A4. Had a oil leak that wasn't completely major. Oil seepage coming from the brake booster vacuum pump, which mounts to the engine, mounts to the cylinder head, and is driven by the exhaust camshaft. Leaking oil, and this particular auto repair shop, who I'm not going to name due to legal reasons, of course, they wanted to charge her $500 for an entire new vacuum pump when the vacuum pump in question functions just fine. It just needs a couple gaskets and seals thrown at it. You can pick up a gasket and seal kit and do a full rebuild of the vacuum pump for under $30. Yet they're telling her they're not going to replace it and they're not interested in rebuilding it. When rebuilding a vacuum pump on, for example, these engines, a Volkswagen 2-liter turbo, is very, very simple. Takes less than an hour, but they refuse to rebuild it. They're not interested. They're not interested in saving people money. They're interested in a quick and easy cash grab. That's all they're interested in. They don't want to save you, the customer, a few extra dollars. Especially in this whole inflation economy that we're going through right now in Canada, and the entire crisis with Justin Trudeau and all that stuff. We're not going to get into that, but times are tough right now. People don't have a lot of money. They don't have an extra $500 to just spend on a repair that's essentially useless. A repair that can be done for essentially less, and the result, the outcome, will be exactly the same. There's just simply no need for that. So, went into my spare parts pile, found a vacuum pump for you guys, just to show you guys what I mean, what's going on these days in the industry. So this is a vacuum pump from a 2-liter turbo Volkswagen engine, and it has the high pressure fuel pump mounted on it as one unit. Of course, it's removable and serviceable separately. But what we're talking about is this cover on the back of the vacuum pump, which literally has 3 bolts. 1, 2, 3, holding on the lower cover. Once those are removed, there is a rubber gasket that runs along the side. You replace that rubber gasket, and then you take apart this piece right here, replace the second gasket. That's a rebuilt vacuum pump for you guys right there, okay? Okay, do you see what I'm saying? And then you obviously use a new gasket for the mating surface. 3 gaskets, guys. 3 gaskets for $50. This customer could have had a rebuilt vacuum pump that's not leaking, but what do? They want to charge her the entire thing for $500, even though it's not needed, guys. Okay? See what I'm saying? I'm also seeing this a lot more often with engine repair. Shops quoting something and telling something to a customer that isn't even true, okay? Me and my buddy, we do a lot of these 2-liter turbos, and we buy a lot of them with timing chain problems. timing chain skipped, you know, needs a cylinder head essentially. If you were to bring that to a shop, you know, if you were to tell them my timing chain skipped and it bent all the intake valves, what are they going to tell you? They're going to tell you that you need a whole new engine. They're not going to repair the engine. They're going to tell you we're going to get either a used salvage junkyard engine to throw in, or they're going to get a completely brand new one. And let me tell you, each of those options is $5,000 plus, okay? A new one would be $10,000. Now, the problem here and my concern is that there are less and less competent shops who can actually take apart an engine, remove the cylinder head, rebuild it with new valves, slap it back together with a brand new timing belt or brand new timing chain, and save the customer a bunch of money. We don't have that anymore. Me and my buddy are the only ones that do it for our customers. We're the only ones that do it. We don't know of any other shops that do. All the customers that come to us, they're telling us that the shop just quotes an entire engine. They're not interested in taking it apart and fixing it like the good old days, where they used to take apart a cylinder head, fix it, and call it a day. What we have here is shops that are either just lazy, or they don't have the skills, or, you know, could be many other reasons. But the mechanics these days, I feel, are pretty much just parts replacers. They're not real mechanics. The problem with that is they may be throwing away good engines that can still be saved. An engine that has maybe a burned exhaust valve, something along those lines. Replace that one exhaust valve and your engine is still fine. You don't need to say that, oh, you need this whole thing, because why not? The third thing I'm noticing these days is a whole lot more misdiagnosis, and on a regular basis. I'm not saying just the occasional misdiagnosis here and there. I have a lot of cars that come into this garage. I buy them broken, fix them up, and sell them. So here's a good story for you guys. I had a 2009 Mazda 5, okay, the minivan, right? And I bought that thing for, I think, $500. And I bought it from a customer who brought it to a shop, and the shop told him that the engine's basically toast, and the cylinders are all scored up. You know, the cylinder walls are scored. It has no compression in it. And anyway, long story short, the car was sitting at the shop where it was diagnosed, and I met the guy to buy it off of him. I was prepared to throw an engine at it because, you know, it's $500. It was low mileage. So anyways, I pay the guy. I was going to risk it and drive it home anyway the way it was. And I started up, and it runs just fine. It runs just fine, okay? I can see that it's leaking a bunch of oil from underneath. Like, it's pissing out oil. We're talking like Niagara Falls here, guys, all right? And we get it home. We do a compression test on the engine. The engine is fine. We put a borescope down in the cylinders. We check the cylinder walls, the pistons. We check the valves. They look perfect. You guys want to know what really was wrong with this Mazda 5? The oil cooler gasket was leaking underneath the engine, okay? The oil cooler gasket was leaking, and unfortunately, it ran a little bit low on oil, but it was still salvageable. We took the oil pan off, and everything looked good, okay? There was no scoring, there was no damage. We did an oil change. We test drove that thing for a couple of days, and the engine was completely fine, okay? It didn't need an engine. It did not need an engine, yet they told this guy it's gonna be $10,000 for a new engine. All we did was went to the junkyard, put an oil cooler in it and a new gasket, and that was that. That was it, okay? And then we sold it for, you know, a good amount of money a week later. The third story I have for you guys is I bought an Audi A5, I'm pretty sure. It was a 2-liter turbo, And same kind of thing. The shop told the customer that the engine was completely junk and he needs a completely new engine. Now, that is only partially true. We towed the car home and the timing chain skipped, and it only needed 2 intake valves and a new timing chain, and resurfaced the head, new head gaskets, head bolts, and fluids. That was it. It was completely salvageable. So my point here is that we kind of live in a rip-off society, I wish it was, simpler, like, in the 60s, where you bring it to a gas station and it's like a full-service gas station. They can fix like anything on your old school car, whatever you want. Obviously, our cars these days are different, and I'm aware of that, but just the level of incompetence in shops these days and dealerships is just astounding. The last story I want to tell you guys is when I bought a 2011 Audi S5, okay? It had a manual transmission, 4.2 liter V8. It was a total monster. Beautiful sports car, right? I bought it for super cheap, again, around $2,000. Retail on these cars is upwards of 10 to 12. And it was making some kind of rattling noise at idle. And the guy brings it to the Audi dealership here. We're talking home base. We're talking Audi. They're supposed to know these cars inside and out. Okay, they're supposed to be experts. And they told him that his engine was bad and that he needs a new timing chain. Okay? I picked up the car, I drove it home, and then I noticed something. Yes, it did have a rattle, and it did sound a little bit like a timing chain. But there's a key thing that the customer told me which made me raise an eyebrow. Okay? He told me that he replaced the clutch, and he did a single mass flywheel conversion, and gone was the dual mass flywheel, was out the door. So he put a single mass flywheel, and single mass flywheels on these Audis, they tend to have a little chatter at idle. Okay, guys? They're a little bit like tick, 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 like a little chatter coming from the flywheel. And that's just what single mass flywheels do. They're a little bit noisier. And the dual mass flywheel, it's meant to compensate, for the noise. It's meant to be smoother. But when you go single mass, they're just more reliable. Anyway, that's another story. Bottom line is, at idle, it had the noise, and then all I had to do was press the clutch in, and the noise goes away. Okay? Clearly, that's just a normal chirp / chatter from a single mass flywheel. It does not need a timing chain. And I confirmed this. Okay, guys? I confirmed this. I plugged in VCDS, which is the basically equivalent to OEM diagnostic software for these Volkswagens and Audis. I checked the phase position of the camshafts, and they were all in spec. Okay, the timing chain was not stretched. There was nothing out of the ordinary. No rattles at cold start or anything. Okay, no check engine light even. Okay, they told this guy it was going to be $17,000 to replace the engine, and I bet when they replaced it, if they were going to, the noise would have still been there, and then they would have said, well, we don't know, So that's my point, just a little rant for today, because I'm seeing this more and more in the industry, and it kind of sucks. If you're a customer that doesn't know anything about cars, you'll really get taken advantage of. That's why it's really good to find a mechanic that you wholeheartedly trust. Okay, guys, that's very important. A mechanic who explains everything step by step, explains what he's doing, how the failure occurred, what is the cheapest, fastest, and easiest solution to the failure that occurred. Okay? And I'm totally aware that there are shops that take advantage of you, and they just want the quick and easy fix. They'll just throw a couple parts at it. Here's the bill, piss off, have a good day. Like, all we care about is getting paid. But You know, it's really hard to find a good mechanic. If you do, stay with that mechanic and don't go anywhere else. So let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Let me know if you guys agree. Has auto repair become pretty much just parts replacing and just a complete joke? I mean, let me know what you guys think. Do you think we have more parts cannon mechanics these days? Do you think the dealerships just want to rack up the bill as high as they can? And same with the repair shops. Do they just not care? Do they just want the quick and easy way out? Do they just not want to repair anything? Are they lazy? Now, guys, I'm not saying all shops are like this, okay? I'm not saying that every single shop you're going to go to is going to overcharge you, rip you off, and give you repairs that are completely unnecessary. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this is something that I'm seeing more and more often these days. This is something that I'm seeing more and more of our customers telling us. And this is something that I'm seeing more and more based on our experiences. Had a Volkswagen Passat that wasn't shifting properly. It was jerking and shifting a little bit hard, okay? The previous owner brought it to a shop. They told him, we're just gonna replace the entire transmission or rebuild it for $5,500. You know what was wrong with it, guys? It needed one pressure solenoid inside the mechatronic unit, inside the transmission, which is essentially 2.5 hours. That's how long it took. You take the mechatronics cover off, you replace the one valve in there, and the transmission was fine. You don't need a whole transmission. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Are the days of proper diagnosis and auto repair completely gone? Or do you think I'm just being too picky here and I'm being too hard on, shops and dealerships? Let me know what you guys think. And until next time, catch you guys in the next one.